7 habits that made me a dollar millionaire in just 1 year. I conducted a self-study and identified 7 habits that helped me significantly increase my income and break through my glass ceiling. In this video, I will talk about how you can implement these habits in your life, change it and break through your glass ceiling. And be sure to watch this video to the end, because one of the habits that will lead you to the result, the very habit without which all the previous 6 do not work. I started with the adequate. I went to courses, learned marketing, learned promotion, but unfortunately my income did not grow. At that moment I was on a maternity leave, the business was working, it was working quite solidly and quite evenly, and I decided to devote time to understanding myself. I realized that the reason is me, and I needed to figure out why my income was not growing, why I could not break through the glass ceiling. I started reading a lot of books, I started taking many courses offline and online. This was before COVID. I went to master classes, and I collected for you the most effective methods to increase your income in a very short time. Since you are watching this video, the problem of the glass ceiling is also familiar to you. Like if you want to confirm your intention to the universe that you are ready to break through your glass ceiling. The first thing I started studying was, of course, world leaders, world coaches who are engaged in self-development. I read their books, attended their trainings, and I was hooked by Brian Tracy's book. There are a lot of them, but one technique is really great and really helpful. What is the essence of this technique? You need to write down every day by hand, this is very important, your goals. Someone calls it desires, someone calls it goals. Just get yourself a notebook, any one you like, and start writing every day, preferably at a certain time of the day so you don't forget. Just write down your goals. For example, my monthly income is such, I work in such a company. When I started using this technique, I found that some desires come true even without your specific action. You start writing them down and your brain starts looking for ways to solve this problem. I started both with large-scale goals and small ones, for example, the goal of increasing coverage. I have a big problem, my coverage in the blog is not growing, and I didn't know how to improve it technically. I bought coaching from one big blogger who has coverage of more than 1 million people per day, but it didn't help me increase coverage. What helped me increase coverage? I just wrote every day. My coverage is over 200,000 views in stories. And literally a month later my coverage started to grow. How does it work? Every day we have a lot of background problems. We think about what to wear today, how to get to work, and therefore, due to this background, due to this noise, we forget about those goals and tasks that we actually have for life or for the next year. When you write your goals in a notebook by hand, first of all, you use fine motor skills, and through fine motor skills, new neural connections are built in your brain. And secondly, you focus your attention on those goals that you have set for yourselves and do this every day. Then the magic begins. You start noticing some new opportunities. People call you, you're invited to some negotiations, or you're offered some cooperation. You find some ways to implement your task. How did your coverage increase? There was no magic that I woke up one day and suddenly had great figures, no. I started noticing some ways to increase coverage from the outside. And one fine day I saw this figure and even 214,000 coverage in stories, which I was very happy about, and now I see such coverage regularly. And the trick is that I, with the help of this technique, have learned to notice the opportunities that come into my life. And if you make it a regular habit, spending just 5 minutes a day on it and writing down your goals, your life will start to change rapidly. The second habit I introduced is, of course, visualization. A lot of films have been made about it, many coaches talk about it, but you know what? It didn't work for me. I was doing it for several months and didn't understand what I was doing wrong. I'll tell you a story. I had a partner in business, a girl with whom we shared percentages. Every month I sent her percentages from my account to her account. And then I visualized pure profit. I wanted to grow in profit up to 3 million. At that moment, my profit was about 1 million. And I consciously, accurately visualized 3 million in my hands every day. By the way, it's important that you imagine the money in your hands. And I visualized the figure of 3 million on my account. And at one point, my partner tells me, I have a little problem with my account. I'm abroad, I can't unblock it, don't send me money for now. As soon as I return and solve the problem, you will send it to me. And she could not return home and unblock the account for 2 months. And during this time, I accumulated her 3 million on my account. But it was not my money and my income didn't increase. What was I doing wrong? I'll reveal a huge secret to you. If you're an entrepreneur or if large sums of money pass through you, you need to visualize the total volume of money. This is called revenue. Visualize the whole amount. That is, for example, if you're a manager and you get a percentage of sales, you should visualize the whole amount of money that passes through you as a manager. 100 million or 20 million, and your profit will naturally increase once revenue increases. That was the biggest problem and my big mistake. As soon as I corrected it, visualization started to work instantly. And another life hack, don't imagine an amount more than twice your current turnover. The amount must be a little more. If you imagine 10-20 times more, visualization will work very slowly. For our brain, it's hard to accept such a volume at once. Why does visualization work and what is it? Esotericism, science, what scientists say about it? Let's do a short test now. Close your eyes for a second and imagine how you are cutting a lemon. Most likely, if you imagine the picture well, you will feel a sour taste in your mouth. Why? Because our brain does not distinguish visualization from the picture you are actually seeing now. That's why in the cinema we dodge the plane if we watch a 3D movie where the plane flies straight at us. We can use visualization to trick our brain. If we regularly show fulfilled dreams, our brain as a navigator starts to move towards this goal and starts to attract it into our life. The third habit that simply blew my mind and made a huge breakthrough for me is, of course, neurographics. What is neurographics? It's a type of drawing that changes our neural connections through fine motor skills. It is a scientifically proven method. The author is a scientist, professor, doctor of psychological sciences. I started drawing neurographics as a challenge because my friend said, why not? Give it a try, maybe it will work. And I started drawing for money right away. Why? It is easy, it is measurable. If you draw relationships, it's very hard to understand whether it has gotten better or not. Yes, it seems to be better, but then there is another scandal, there is another quarrel, or for example, it went to divorce. But when you draw figures, you can easily check how it works. How does it work? There is no magic or esotericism, and by the way, I'm often asked, does it contradict religion? No, it's a scientifically proven method. Through fine motor skills, we draw lines and symbols. Carl Gustav Jung proved it and wrote a huge book. You can find it in any bookstore, the unconscious and its symbols. So Jung proved that symbols are read by our subconscious better than speech and writing. You can spend million hours talking to a psychologist. But if you draw understandable to the subconscious symbols, a clear picture, then it will start to act differently. Our subconscious reads this picture like a QR code, and your task is to draw with your own hand and change your own thinking. That's all the magic, that's all the sorcery. And you know what I offer you? I challenge you to see if Neurographics works. Let's judge the taste of oysters after we've tried them. If you have never tried Neurographics, you can follow the link in the description and feel free to draw an algorithm called A Fear of Big Money. About how to do visualization correctly, how to correctly imagine a picture, where you are in the picture, the first person, the third person, what to do if you can't imagine a picture, how often to do visualization at all. I can talk about this endlessly, I'm ready to talk about it for hours. But if you want me to record such a video, subscribe to the channel, set a reminder so you know when new videos come out, and I will definitely record such a video for you. The fourth habit that you really need to adopt is to communicate with successful people. And you know, no matter what self-development training you attend, you can pay 1,000, 100,000 for it. They shall tell you change your environment. You need to remove whiners, you need to remove toxic people, people who do not believe in you, and surround yourself with people who are heading towards the same goals and who are as motivated as you are. Very often our loved ones are the most toxic environment, and I call this stealing dreams. Who steals our dreams? Our closest people. We do not tell random people that we want to change our place of residence or start our own business. We tell this to our husband, mother, close friends, the closest people. And what do these people do? Due to their inner fears, they start to dissuade us, they wish us the best. They are not bad, they just had some negative experience and start to project this experience onto you. What can you do in such a case if you can't stop communicating with these people? Stop sharing your plans with them. You can tell them afterwards what happened in fact. Mom, I changed my job, congratulate me, I have a new job, my salary is twice as high. The fifth habit, it's also very important, you need a person to follow. This can be an offline or virtual mentor. Who is this? This is a person who has already achieved the goals you have set for yourself. For example, you want to move to another city, to a capital, and you have a friend in your environment who has already done this. Start communicating with her more. Ask her how she was settling, what steps she was taking. If there is no one in your environment who has already achieved such a goal, you will have to look for them on social networks. Your task is to observe them every day. If you don't yet have the opportunity to learn from them and communicate with them directly, observe, make conclusions and repeat. Through mirror neurons we learn. We repeat the behavior we want to learn. Want to sing? Repeat after the vocal teacher. Want to learn to be a millionaire? Repeat after the millionaire. It's simple. When you observe that the mentor is doing something you haven't done yet, and another cool marker, if it annoys you, it irritates you, or if you think that it's wrong at all, this is your growth zone. It's not only that you didn't try it, it's hard for you to imagine it. By the way, let's share in the comments those role models, those people you observe on social networks. And tell, most important, why you observe this person. What triggers you, what irritates you, what you like about them. And it will be interesting to scroll through comments and see maybe our interests will coincide. The sixth habit is to learn something new for at least 15 minutes a day. Our brain is like a muscle that needs to be trained every day. Imagine if you lay motionless for a whole week. Everything would go numb, your muscles would slowly start to atrophy. And if you lay for a year, if you lay for 20 years, then you wouldn't be able to get out of bed in a few years. So if you don't train your brain, if you don't give it new information, it will start to age. That's life. How can you get information in any way? You can watch educational videos, for example on YouTube. The fact that you're watching this video now is cool. Your brain will be charged with the new information today, and throughout the day you will think about what I told you, and this is a cool workout for the brain. You can communicate with people who will give you some new information. You can learn languages, it's mega cool, a great workout for the brain. You must make your brain work daily so that it doesn't age and so that over time you do not have terrible diseases that develop precisely because of brain laziness. Make sure to include this habit in your daily schedule. And the seventh, the most important habit without which the previous six will not work. Every day do some small action towards your goals. And the main problem is that people think they need to do large-scale actions. How does it work? When you start taking small steps, the universe gives you energy, the world gives you energy for the next action. Make it an everyday habit to take at least a small step towards those goals that you set in the morning. You can make such an exercise in the evening. Open your goals that you wrote in the morning and see if you have taken a small step towards each goal. And if not, think about what step can you take. I think you will be interested to hear my story about small steps. In our district, where my husband and I lived, they started to build a new residential complex. The first thing I did, I checked the prices on the website. The prices were huge, the apartment cost 200,000, this was a few years ago, and for your information, we had saved 2,000, which in no way helped us buy this apartment. The next step I took was to call the manager and make an appointment to view the apartment. We came to the viewing, looked at the layout and chose the apartment that we liked the most. We did not evaluate could we afford it or not. It was a more than 100 square meter, 2-story apartment with a fireplace, with a terrace in a very cool district. And we had 2,000, oh my. And when I came to the sales office, the manager, of course, offered me to approve a mortgage. My business was then about half a year old. It was very young. It was very unlikely that I would be approved for a mortgage and I didn't have a down payment. But I took the next step and I said, let's go. I sent documents for my business, I sent documents for my husband's business because my income was too small for such a big deal. We were connected as participants in the deal and submitted our documents to several banks. And to my surprise, I found out a few days later that one bank had approved my mortgage. The down payment was 15%, that's 30,000. Up to the terms, we had 90 days to make the deal. But there was still no down payment. What did I do? I honestly told the manager that we do not have a down payment yet and we will think about how to solve this problem. This very month, my business brought me more money than usual and I was able to save another 6,000 for the down payment. And my husband and I flew to Tokyo, had a trip planned long before this. And we're in Tokyo and my brother calls me and says, "Did you see what happened to the dollar?" At that moment, the dollar has doubled in a short period of time and I kept my money in dollars. And it turned out that I have a mortgage approved. My down payment remained the same at 30,000, but I already have 15 saved up. And I realized I needed to take action. I called my brother and asked him to lend me the missing amount of 15,000, which he did, although he didn't believe I would pay him back, so he lent it to me under a contract. And so with 30,000 I went to arrange the mortgage. It was my first mortgage. I was incredibly scared because the monthly payment was more than 1,500. And I was confused. I was self-employed. Could I afford such expenses every month? Especially since I also had expenses for a nanny, expenses for 2 car loans and a lot of other things. In the end, we didn't only buy this apartment. I paid back my brother's debt in 2 months. I paid off the mortgage early, 2 years after we took it. We did a luxurious renovation and we live and come to this apartment now with a fireplace, 110 square meters, 2-story with a huge terrace, and I'm happy that once I took the first step.